Mr. Gibbons, what do you make of the balance in the Green Energy Act? I mean, I think you're pushing more, you're saying it's not strong enough in conservation, correct?
Right. Well, the McGuinty government's approach is not balanced. The Green Energy Act is an important step forward, but there's not nearly enough investment in energy efficiency. And the central thrust of the McGuinty electricity plan is to increase our dependency on high-cost and unreliable nuclear power. And that simply doesn't make sense, since there are much lower cost and more reliable options to keep the lights on.
Going forward, though, we're going to need more electricity. How do you make 50% of your supply disappear and still keep the lights on when you're talking about nuclear?
Well, first of all, you do energy efficiency. Second, you do much more renewable power than the government is planning to. Our total wind power potential in Ontario is 10 times our total electricity consumption. Third, you've got to do a lot of natural gas combined heat and power. That's using natural gas not only to heat a building or a home, but also to produce electricity. And we've got a huge potential for natural gas combined heat and power that's greater than our total nuclear capacity. And the fourth thing we should do is we should increase our electricity trade with Quebec. Quebec has some of the greatest supply of hydroelectricity in North America, some of the lowest rates for electricity in North America, but nevertheless we have virtually no trade with Quebec in electricity, and that makes no sense. We should be importing low-cost, reliable hydroelectric power from Quebec.
But we'll still need the nukes, yes?
Not if you do our four-point plan of energy efficiency, more renewables in Ontario, natural gas combined heat and power, and increased trade with Quebec. That can replace the nuclear power.
How do you get around the issue of base load, the issue of the wind doesn't blow all the time and the sun doesn't shine all the time?
Sun doesn't shine all the time, but that doesn't matter, because our demand for electricity peaks in the daytime when the sun is shining. And so we need some generation capacity that only works when the sun shines, and solar is good for that. In terms of the wind, yes, it doesn't blow all the time, but that's why we have to integrate our wind generation with Quebec's huge hydroelectric reservoirs. When our wind generation is above average, we should export the surplus wind power to Quebec to keep the lights on in Montreal. That means they don't have to run as much water through their hydroelectric stations. They can store more water in their water reservoirs. And then when our wind power output is below average, Hydro-Quebec can run the water through their reservoirs, through their generating stations, and export the power back to Ontario. And that way, by integrating our wind generation with Quebec's hydroelectric resources, we can convert wind from an intermittent, unreliable source of electricity to a steady 24/7 source of power, baseload power.